Let me ask you, Prime Minister, about another neighbour, which I do believe faces some major unresolved questions, and that's, of course, Macedonia, the Republic of Macedonia. As you know, Macedonia's path to both NATO and the EU is blocked by this name dispute with Athens, with Greece. And it strikes me oftentimes that the Albanian community is somehow caught in the middle. In other words, they would want to be part of a Macedonian state that makes progress towards NATO, just as Albania has, and a Macedonian state that joins eventually the European Union. If this path is blocked for a long period of time, in other words, it doesn't look as though it would be resolved, don't you think the level of frustration is going to mount amongst the Albanians, and that will have some impact on Tirana, on Albania's policy?
What I told you about the problems in the region remain, and one of the major problems is the situation in Macedonia, in the sense that the Euro-Atlantic and European aspiration of this nation, this country, are blocked. And this is really damaging the hopes of this society. And there is nothing worse than damaging or killing the hopes of a man, of a community, of a society. So I'm really concerned about. I believe international community, although I know I am a witness, what a great effort did, but should not get tired, but finding a solution. At the end of the day, the Republic of Macedonia do exist based on the international order, international law. And I think its existence served all nations, helped to prevent a very large and terrible conflict in south of Balkans. I believe the nation, the country, and the government has done great reforms. Now, a solution on this question is conditioned.
But do you think the international community should be doing more? Should Brussels be doing more to get Athens and Skopje together?
Absolutely, yes. Should do much more, in my view.
Because at the moment we have a UN representative who's been negotiating for 12, 15 years, but doesn't seem to be getting anywhere.
I know that UN, EU, US government in all levels were involved. And I'm not entering, blaming sides, but I think Macedonia is a very important country for the peace and stability in this region. And it's a great merit. It is one of the greatest merits of US administration. At a time when Macedonia's existence legally was put in question, US government engaged a battalion right in Macedonia, together with northern countries. That is why, because it was crucial for peace and stability. And I think now it's crucial also to help find a solution and get this country moving ahead toward European Union and NATO. Because it is damaging very much the inter-ethnic relations. There is no need that one part of society to feel itself pro-European, pro-NATO, and blaming the other part. That doesn't help. But it is help a solution. And hopefully it will be more seriously considered.
Well, would you encourage, because there's great division in the Albanian political elites in Macedonia, would you encourage greater union between them, greater cooperation?
I talk permanently with them, and there is a serious progress. You probably know they have had election matters, but they left behind. And in last elections, they signed a document, and they respect it. In case that they could find better way to cooperate, they will strengthen the representation of Albanians. They will have more representative in parliament, but still they do a very good job, and I praise them for their role, that I'm a witness. Whatever mistakes, errors, they played historical. I was in Macedonia. I found a totally different one. I was in Tetova. I found a totally different Tetova. So they did their job.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me, I mean, there's many questions to ask about the Balkans. We don't have all night, unfortunately. We'll come back to this at some point. Let me turn now to US policy. As you know, America, United States this year has presidential elections, although of course we don't know who's going to win. It's the early stages, but the Republican candidates are now selecting among themselves who's going to be in opposition to Barack Obama. Now, much has been said about America's decline over the past several years. And of course, the country has deep economic problems. Public opinion is against foreign engagement. This does affect America's role in the world, not just in Far East, not just in Middle East, but I would say also in Europe, particularly with the recent announcement by the President of scaling down some of the military, some of the security questions. What would be your advice to the American president, whether the current one or the new one? In other words, should Washington be more involved in this region and in Europe as a whole, or less so? In other words, if America had choice of where to put its resources, how much resources should they put into Southeast Europe?
Southeast Europe went through some most dramatic developments. As a witnesses of the beginning of those times, definitely they were largely due to European weaknesses and impossibilities to solve the questions. Dominic Moisi considers the wars in Yugoslavia as the most blowing factor to the hopes that the fall of Iron Curtain raised in Europe. The turning point in Balkans came through US engagement. But as long as I'm a witness also of those times, at the beginning, it was not easy for US administration to realize that it's a strategic interest for United States in this peninsula. But very soon they realized. And once they realized, respecting their ally, first step was to send a battalion in Macedonia, which was one of the most important ones. Second, they followed. But the controversy between European countries get the Bosnia war worse and worse. Still, it was United States that took the lead and imposed the peace. Dayton was an imposed peace. Later, the matters come to Kosovo. United States leader. I think their presence is vital in the region. And now that US administration is rightly considering a right-sizing or a downsizing U.S. presence in different parts of the world, I believe still in Balkan, in this region, U.S. presence is vital and crucial.